So we don't know. I mean, I knew one of them, but
Good evening, everyone. I'll call this meeting of the Policy Committee to order. Please call the roll.
Chairman Smith,
here.
Policy Committee Chairwoman Mrs. Haddon,
Here.
Mrs. Black, Mr. Connor,
Here.
Mr. Daugherty,
Here.
Mr. Groen,
Here.
Mrs. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Keene,
Here.
Ms. Schaefer, Mr. Slater,
Here.
Ms. Thomas.
Present.
Okay. Our agenda tonight includes a review of all the policies that were submitted as first reads at the February board meeting, which included a review of Section 2, Fiscal Management, and 4, Instructional Program. The agenda has 3 sections: the cleanup, edit, review. The policies listed in these sections are edited for formatting, language, and cleanup. These edits do not change the policy's impact. During this section, I will ask my fellow board members if there is any policy they would like to discuss out of this section. If no discussion, we will agree to send these policies to the March board agenda as second and final read. Okay. The other are policies for discussion. Each policy in this section has edits that adjust the policy's impact. We will take time to discuss each policy in this section, recommend edits if necessary, and determine if the policy is sent to the March board agenda as a second and final read. Finally, Ms. Moody has an update for the board on the full policy review process that is currently in place. Would you like to give that review now?
Sure.
What you were saying?
Sure. Just to let you all know, we did find, in somebody letting us know on the board, there was a month in March last year where the board approved policies and we didn't get them uploaded onto the site. So knowing that we were just in transition of employees and we missed it, knowing that our team is doing a full review, we're going to go through the last year of board approved policies, look and make sure we have the right ones on the website and update them. If we find any that didn't get updated, we're going to print them out for you and bring them to you at the board meeting so that you can update your books with those. And of course, we'll update them on the website and put the appropriate date. I just wanted to be clear that we did find a couple of those where we missed it, and so we're going to just do a whole audit to make sure we're all in alignment.
Thank you. Okay, before we begin, I would like to adjust tonight's agenda. Specifically in sections 3 and 1, we will be removing the educator diversity policy 5.1042 from the agenda for discussion, and I will not be submitting the policy on the March board agenda for a second and final read.
She said will not.
Okay, we will not. Means we will not vote on it. It will not be voted on.
It will remain the same. Hold on, my mic off.
It's still there, yes. Okay. All right, so let's start with section 2, cleanup, edit,
are you gonna recognize my
review
light?
policies.
May have some
You have to
lights.
recognize the light.
She didn't have. You should have some lights on there.
Okay. All right, Ms. Jones.
So with that being stated, if we're not going to discuss it tonight and it's not going to be on the March agenda, are you pulling it as in to leave it as is? Or are you pulling it for us to discuss after March? Like what's the plan if you're pulling it from discussion tonight, in which in February we were supposed to, you told me in my time that we was going to discuss it today.
Okay.
So are you pulling it to bring it back in April, May, June, August, September?
Okay. Frankly, it's not worth the distraction from the other business that's really important at this time. Meaning the policy stays, so it stays as is.
Not strike.
So for clarity, we're not striking it, we're leaving it as is.
Yeah. And it may come back months later, but everyone will know.
So Bennett, I have a question. If she pulls it today and we don't discuss it today, because I get where it's going, she could bring it back in September because I'm gone the 31st. I'm not gone from this body, but I'll be gone from this dais. But my point is, if she pulls it, can I ask for it to go back and vote and for it to be voted to remain? Like, what are the rules here, Bennett? Because I know some discussion clearly some discussion has been had. So what are the rules?
Well, the policy is the policy until the board changes the policy. So if the board isn't going to make any edits to this particular policy, it remains in your policy manual.
Okay. So then, from my understanding, if she pulls it today, then it remains as is from 7/20.
7/17/2025.
Yeah, as it is as of 7/17/25 is where it will stand.
Well, the policy as written remains the policy until this board changes it. So, and you're saying she, it's really, it's this board. So
I know, but she pulled it, so come on, Bennett, let's not do this today.
What I'm saying is, it's the board's policy. So.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, but she's pulling it, so the board don't get to discuss it. So I'm asking, if the board doesn't get to discuss it, is it just a Felice discussion in her mind, or is it the board's discussion? Because last month it was we're going to discuss, I don't want to talk about, we're going to talk about it in March. Well, here it is, March. And the people heard this, that's why I said it that night. So I just want to know that if that's the case, if the policy is going to remain, is it the board's decision or is it Felice's decision? Because she just said, I don't want to distract. So is it she doesn't want to distract or the board doesn't want to distract?
Anyone on this board has a right to bring it back up.
Okay, so I want to leave it as is, and I want us to decide if we're leaving it as is or if she just gets to. It's okay. If you're saying it's gonna stay as is, we'll leave it as.
Yeah. Let me try to make it simple.
She's withdrawing it. We're gonna leave it. She's gonna withdraw it. Okay.
Yeah, it's the simple thing is the policy remains exactly the
I
way
got
it
you.
is until you change it.
Okay.
And if it's not on the agenda to be changed,
Then it won't be changed.
it won't be changed.
Okay.
So, but theoretically, it doesn't come up again
Until next.
to review until this time next year.
Unless the board chooses to review it.
Okay.
The board can always review its policies. So if you wanted to update it to, in fact, we did this, if the board will recall, we updated this policy.
In July.
In July. So if the board wants to keep working on this, what I'm trying to tell you, Ms. Jones, is if the board wants to do some work on this policy to make it better in view of whatever
I think
concerns
it's
you may
fine
have,
the way it is. I just.
then you don't need to do anything.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Thomas?
I don't have my light on. I don't have any questions. Since you withdrawn it, I don't have any problem.
Okay, it's still showing up. Okay.
Oh, is it? I
Mr.
don't-
Connor?
I'm on there.
I'm sorry, please.
You're after
feel like
Mr. Connor.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
That's okay.
I agree with my counterpart, Ms. Jones, that this should stay the way it is. I would just, and I had the same questions. I initially lit up just to make sure that this wasn't something that the plan was to bring back, because I agree with you. I think that it is, does not need to be changed. But I would just also take a second to add to what Ms. Jones said about her seat being occupied by a new person in September. We are entering into an election year, so just make sure that the general public is represented by whoever is your representative, and you get the opportunity to make your voice heard this August. So be sure that you vote for the right person that represents your voice.
Okay. Mr. Grove?
Yes, that was, let me clarify, Madam Chair, that was my objection, was this was being brought up after we had already voted it into policy. So I was confused as to why we were bringing it up when we had already established this in July last year. So I'm all for pulling this and let the policy remain as it is.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Let's see. Let's start with Section 2, Cleanup, Edit, Review Policies. As a reminder, these policies have edits that do not change the policy's impact. These policies include 2.100 Fiscal Management, 2.101 Duties of School System Employees. I'll just say the name of them. Gifts and Bequests, Personal Property Sales, Charter School Authorizing Principles, Charter School Agreements, Charter School Oversight.
Wait a minute now. Those are down in 3.
Yeah. Wait, oh, I'm sorry, this is, apologize. I went to the wrong page, okay. All right, I'll just start from the beginning real quickly. Fiscal management, duties of school system employees, gifts and bequests, personal property sales, salary deductions, career and technical education, magnet programs, work-based learning and app programs, textbook selection, distribution and care, audio, video, and digital recordings, lottery, scholarships. Okay, is there any policy in this group that you would like to discuss further?
Yes, I have my light on.
Okay, Mr. King.
4.204.
Okay.
So my question is, we have a pilot program that's going to be starting. Is Dr. Irvin here? Yeah. So tell us the title again, CWS US, but I do not remember exactly what CWS stands for. With Stephen Ryder, the pilot program we're going to do?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. The pilot program focuses on the Midtown Learning Community, our secondary schools, and this is an opportunity for our students to receive additional episodes if possible, but it also walks students through different programming over the course of several weeks on Saturdays at a designated location to think through technical and career education. A lot of web-based information will be learned through the program.
All right. So where I'm coming for on this, under the CTE, it has an option of cyber security as far as computer science. It has an emphasis on cyber security, and I was wondering if we could get, if that needs to be entered now or after this pilot program is done, because that would be something that I didn't see it on there, so I was wondering, even, go ahead.
So the list is solely the approved program of study and career clusters from the state. So even the pilot program will still use course codes that are approved by the state that would be in those. And so the updates that were actually made were solely updating the verbiage to match the state's update that they had last year. But it's still the same programs of studies we've been offering, and pilots would find the aligned program of study to use the course codes for.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else?
I want to talk about all of them because I just want to talk about all of them. I want to pull all of them.
Okay, we'll start for the first one. Okay. Any comment on fiscal management?
Oh, I'm not talking about that one. I'm sorry, Felicia. I thought
Okay,
those were the
I'm
cleanup.
just saying the
I'm
first
talking
group.
about the ones under the February 1st read ones. Those the ones I'm talking about. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm okay with the ones with the just
The ones
cleanup.
I just mentioned?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm fine with
then we'll.
I have a question about 4.205 magnet programs.
Okay.
So, if I'm looking at this correctly, are the edits, I guess I'm confused on why the word, like why this is changed too. Like why does represents a viable have to be taken out, around which each magnet school theme and educational philosophy? I mean, each magnet school does typically have its own theme. I think I'm confused on why that's being removed. And where it says is, so second line 4, each magnet school may develop and deliver a distinct theme around which each magnet school theme and educational philosophy is developed, while allowing each magnet school to be unique in its approach to instruction, provided such programming aligns with district standards while allowing for. So is it just a matter, you felt like it was too wordy? I mean, y'all feel like it was too wordy? What it's because it's pretty much saying the same thing. I'm trying to figure out what the why to that.
Okay, I'm trying to look at that policy right now.
Yeah, I think that the end of it is just making sure that although we want magnet schools to incorporate their own philosophy around instructional programming, but it still has to align with our current standards and our current curriculum.
So it hasn't been doing that? I'm
I
confused.
think it's just making sure that it's in policy that we're saying that it has to align, like we're not going outside of board-approved curriculum, and it's just making it apparent in the policy.
Yeah, so this one is included in that in the beginning because there's no content shift in this. I think it's the way that the wording reads, honestly. If we liked it the way that it was, we can pull this one and not do it as well.
Okay. I just know there's been some changes in some magnet schools where they're doing things that typically wouldn't be the norm in those schools that take away from the tradition of that magnet. So I'm wondering, is this policy supposed to support that? Because I'm a graduate of that magnet and I'm not too fond of that change.
This change was not like trying to get
Okay.
anything passed through or anything like that.
Okay.
In fact, I actually thought it came from Jim Bowles and it didn't, so I need to also go back and figure out where it came from. I think it was just somebody looking at the wording for us. So I'll do my due diligence there as well to make sure. But it is simply like how it reads. There's a way for it to read better.
Oh, okay.
Ms.
You'll
Jones?
circle back to me about
I
that?
will, yes.
Could you expound on that, like what changes you see that are being made?
Well, I'm a graduate of CSAS.
Right.
And I started in the second grade. The first year the elementary school started in 1989. And I matriculated there until I graduated high school. We didn't have honor roll and star roll. We didn't know our class, like there were certain things because we were taking college preparatory classes, we were taking honors types of courses, certain things were just known and understood. But now that I know that's not the case. I have a friend who has a child there, and the other day she posted, like she was all excited about, which not that you shouldn't be excited that your child gets that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it wasn't the tradition of the magnet program. And now it's becoming a thing. And so I'm just wondering the why. That's just an example that I know of personally. So that was just a question that I had. And then when I saw this, I was like, oh, so maybe that's why. Because, in traditional schools, you do that, right? But in a magnet school, per se, you may or may not do that. Like, I still don't know what my class rank is, and I'm 20, almost 30 years out. But I feel like I did pretty well, I guess. Coach Bowles, you think you taught me pretty well? Okay.
Okay. All right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
I can also commit to following up in the board meeting to make sure that we have that information before you're asked to vote on it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Connor?
Thank you, Chair. I, again, agree with my colleague down the dais here. And I think, obviously, I've had a lot of conversations about this with the placement that's going on and the staffing models. I would, without going into this further, since we don't know actually where it came from, my suggestion here that will be a motion in the meeting is that we just table this one and we come back to it. We figure out whose idea it was to even change it. Sound good?
You could do that now if you wanted to, and we would just not submit it as a second read. You could tell
Well,
us to
that's
do
my
that as a board.
suggestion. I know that I can't make a motion in a
Right.
committee meeting, but my suggestion is that we pull this off until we get more information about where it came from.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think that's fine.
Fellow
And
board, we're happy to do it. Yeah.
you can discuss it at the March board meeting if needed, or if we have any more information on that.
Thank you.
Are there any others in that first group? Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry I didn't light up there.
okay. Just it.
And it's probably a dumb question. My wife tells me I always ask dumb questions, so let me ask a dumb question. 2.403 personal property sales. And I have these docu-signs come across my desk all the time, just about every day, about surplus property. And Justin, I know most of that stuff we end up probably throwing away, but there's some of it we probably sell. That's a kind of a question. And if we do, where does that money land?
It comes back to us, but we have a contract with a vendor that does like auction sales. So
Okay.
it goes to that vendor and they sell it for us, and it comes back to us. I think the change here, though, is just to basically making sure that anything within federal programs stays within the regulations. of
Yeah, I
federal
understand
government.
that. How much does that, you may not be able to tell me, does that end up being, say, over a year? Any idea? one man's junk is another man's gold?
I haven't, we can look that up.
Yeah, I'd be
and bring it
interested
back
to
you.
know that, because I see that, I mean, it's almost every day I get something.
Yeah, I
Want
mean,
me
it's
to
a
sign
lot of
off
old
on it.
technology.
Yeah.
You see some of the older vehicles
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that we're selling, but we can look that up and bring a number back.
Okay, all right, thank you, thank you.
Mr. King?
Yeah, and so I was going to ask, kind of following up on that, how do you decide to group things? I know, so probably every year there's 100 to 250 computers that are scrapped. And I know those computers then, there are people out there that want to strip those down for the different elements and gold and silver and stuff that are actually in those. So how does that fall under this $500 thing?
We have I think a separate, technology
Oh,
group
okay.
that comes in and basically scraps, technology, but we still have to go through all that. And I can get John Simon to provide a specific update, but that's different than like a vehicle that's worth, $1,000 that we're actually sending to auction. We're sending the technology to a group that scraps for pieces.
Okay. All right. I was just curious because the way it read, something less than 500 and then, but I mean, we're getting rid of hundreds of those every year, less than 500, but as a whole, they have value. So, okay.
Okay, so now we can move on to the other policies and discuss these one by one. So let's look at policy 6.702, student clubs and organizations. And I know we did not really have a final read or a good edit for a first read, I guess, until today. So Mr. Bennett, do you mind updating us on this policy?
Sure, be glad to. So, y'all will recall that the board has wanted to formalize guidance to the school-based administrators on student clubs. The thing that makes it a little bit more complicated is that we've got two types of student clubs. We've got curriculum-based student clubs that are really an extension of the program of the school, but we also have non-curricular clubs that really are fundamentally student free speech. They're opportunities for students to gather together and visit with like-minded students and talk about things that are important to them. It could be FCA, it could be it could be the Young Democrats, it could be you name it, things that are not tied to the school system, but they have the opportunity to gather together and visit. And so because you've got two different groups, you've got groups that are an extension of the school system, which we can regulate, and then you've got this other collection of groups that it's just students getting together. We really need two separate sets of regulations. Now, in my opinion, I think that the administration has done a very, very, very good job of navigating these things school by school. When these things have come up, the administration knows how to handle these. Every now and then, there are some interesting wrinkles, and Dr. Robertson calls me, and we work through it. So I can say with confidence we're doing a good job in this area. However, trying to put the rules down on paper has proven a bit more of a challenge because, again, you've got two separate considerations. You've got school-based and you've got non-curricular stuff, okay? And so what you have in front of you is a policy that separates these out. You've got the curriculum-based clubs and organizations on top, and you've got the non-curricular clubs and organizations on the bottom, and then at the very bottom, you've got rules that apply to all of these things. This is still a work in process, so I want you all to be very, very clear. I am not ready to recommend this to the board for a first read simply because if you look at that second page, I've got some question marks. If you get non-curricular clubs and organizations, I've given some guidance there for the school administration to consider X, Y, and Z. Not having ever been a school principal, I don't know what I don't know. And so what I would suggest that you let me do is work with Shannon and Dr. Robertson's team just to sort of massage this to be sure that there's not some blind spot that I'm completely missing. But I feel like the final policy is going to look an awful lot like what you have in front of you. I just don't want to send you something that has question marks.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, do you have a comment on this?
On this is student club and organization.
Yes, I see your
I
light
did
up.
have a lot of questions about it,
Okay.
because it was really, I guess, are we allowed to know who wrote this? Who writes these things? Because I
Sure.
guess on number 10, is this something you all are writing? Who's writing these recommendations?
When you say number 10, where are you?
Because everything
Oh,
on
line 10, you mean line
the
10?
principal in cooperation with a committee which at the principal's discretion may include.
Line 13.
Which one do I have? Which
That's
one is
line
right? I got
13.
two over here on my
This
thing.
is student clubs and organizations.
Right.
Okay,
Is it
and you
number
just
10?
read line 13, I believe, on that.
So
No,
she,
that's line 10.
That's
so
line 10.
On the
she-
new, the
the
one
one
we
we
got
got,
tonight.
the one we got last week, because she didn't have the one tonight until tonight.
Right.
But the one, she's talking about the one that we had.
Okay, it was
Ms.
line
Thomas?
10 on the old version.
Yeah,
right?
it was line
Okay,
10.
Okay.
And so I guess I'm confused about it. That's why I asked who writes these?
So the starting point of this was an existing policy that we already had.
In the black, and that's in black.
Yes, ma'am. But it's my understanding that there was a question raised by some administrators, and because I did not have a conversation with them, I can't speak to that. But Ms. Schaefer made an initial stab at making some updates to this. Okay. And I think that everything above the non-curricular clubs and organizations is fine. It's perfectly fine. It gives guidance to your building level administrators about how to handle those clubs that are extensions of the program of the school. Where the nuance, in my opinion, comes into play is that second half, because not every club that you have at a school necessarily marries to a class. For example, FCA, that's a very good example. In some schools, like CCA, your drama club might be curricular, but at Hickson High School, it may be extracurricular. So there's a lot of it depends when you're massaging this. So what you see non-curricular down is mine. And then under rules governing all clubs, that's mostly Ms. Schaefer's, but some of it's mine. Oh, and Mary.
Okay, I guess so. If I have some questions, right?
Go ahead.
Okay, so as it's 13 on this new form, it says the principal in cooperation with a committee which at the principal's discretion may include members of the school community. Now, oftentimes, I am one critic to believe principal got too much power. But where's the autonomy in this, that you got a principal in a school that can should be able to make a decision about what clubs come in and out of their school? Why do you got to go get a committee? They got to get a committee to approve a club. It just doesn't, some things, that's what this is saying, because you took it out, because it says the principal in cooperation at first with the faculty and student body who will be doing the club, where students will be participating in the clubs. Now you're asking the principal to go get a committee in order to have a club. So that was a concern when you put that in there. And it's like prior to the commencement of activities of the part of any club, each club and organization must have one or more staff members, which would be fine, as sponsors, because that's what's happening now. Sponsors must be approved by the principal. That's happening now. Right, it's kind of already happening to me from what I understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Of them.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
guess all of this that's in here is a lot. And then when you go over here, and this is just on the other part, just some things I'm actually looking through. To promote parental partnership and transparency, the school shall maintain a comprehensive student organization guide which shall at a minimum include all the following. You got all these things, an approved objective constitution, every club. I mean, this is not it's not a 501c3 where you should need a constitution, a ballot. It's like a lot of the clubs might be a chess club. There are rules to chess, so you're learning how to play chess. All of them are, they're fun clubs. Some of this is getting too for me, it's getting too regulated.
Too into the weeds.
Yeah, right, and I'm not understanding why we're even entertaining. This is something, I know we need to say what can come in and out of our schools, and as I know, they're different, and people have different objectives for different clubs. That's why you're leaving up, if it's working now, if you're leaving it up to the principals, I just think they should have the autonomy. This is one time I think they should have the autonomy to think who comes in and out of their schools. And I don't think we should be, I mean, it looks like this policy used to be about maybe 2 paragraphs at the most. Now we got a whole lot.
23 lines.
You know, so I don't know, I guess I'm just concerned about that. And I know, you know, people have different objectives and reasons for it, but some things I don't think we need to change, and I think this is one of them. I think you may add a few little things in there, but I don't think we need all this. That's just my opinion.
Well, and Ms. Thomas, I certainly think that the administration will take your thoughts and chew on it. Our current policy is it's not this long, but our current policy isn't short. It does provide good guidance. And I think there has to be a reasonability standard here. I mean, obviously, if I'm a principal at a school, the chess club bylaws and constitution is going to look different from, say, some outside organization that's going to come in and have a chapter on my campus, right? If some kids are going to come together and have a chess club, then I'm going to ask the faculty sponsor, okay, what are you going to do? What's the purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you let in? Or is it everybody, or do you have to be able to play at a certain level? What are the rules? So I think there's a sliding scale, there's a reasonability, but your point's well taken, and I think what we can do there under the rules governing all clubs is maybe take out that phrase, which at a minimum, and maybe say which may include, soften that a little bit so there's a reasonability piece there.
Well, I think what I would like to see removed, I know on one part, is a committee. If you got the principal and you got the faculty in the student body, why do you need a whole nother committee? Or are they now going to say that's the committee? Because that's the issue that I have with it. Why you got to go get a whole nother committee at the principal's discretion to talk with the faculty and the students? It's like it's an add-on with the faculty and the students.
13.
Well, so actually, this kind of tracks with our existing policy language. So our existing policy language says the principal, in cooperation with the faculty and student body representatives, shall approve all clubs. So that is your committee. I mean, whether you call it a committee or not, we
So
already
why
have
do you
one.
have to restate it then?
I don't
Because
know.
from when
I think that it's just trying to clear up, like, for the principal to give directive. The committee could be the instructional leadership team. The committee, it's at the principal's discretion. The committee could be the principal and the secretary.
Okay.
But it's trying to give some direction. Right now, what it says is the principal and the faculty, which technically could be the committee, right? It's just trying to be more specific.
But this is-
And to be clear, like with this policy, like we're all seeing this for the first time tonight.
Yeah.
And Mr. Bennett and I were talking prior to the meeting, like we've got a lot of work to do on this to get it where it needs to be.
And I'll say this, yes, we will not be ready, I'm sure, to submit this as a first read, but, we thought we should go ahead and start discussing this, and we're getting questions that we can hopefully get answers to and clarify, so when we do present a first read, it'll hopefully be something everyone's content with. Ms. Jones, did you have a comment on this?
So in the original policy, it states sororities, fraternities, and all secret organizations are prohibited. And then it goes into, but then you talk about non-curricular clubs that meet the interests. But then it says, again, sororities, fraternities, and all secret organizations are prohibited, but to encourage a well-rounded educational experience, and it goes into all of that. Well, I have a question there. So no, you wouldn't have a high school sorority per se, right? But I am a member of a Greek letter organization that has 2 groups locally, 3 groups nationally, but 2 groups locally that are mentoring. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We have Delta Academy that supports young ladies grades 6 through 8. And then we have Delta Gyms that supports young ladies grades 9th through 12th. And then in some of our chapters across the country, they have Embody, which supports young men in those same age ranges. Alpha Kappa Alpha has an organization. I mean, I know the 9 Greek letters, then there's 100 Black Women, and there's Links, and all these other people that I know in our community have programs that are mentoring that help kids get ready to go to school. And there's NAACP, and I mean, there's all these things. And then, I don't know, it might be Operation Push or something. I don't know. But at the end of the day, when you say no sororities, and if we say no sororities and fraternities, are we saying that they can't have a Me Phi Me versus allowing Delta Gyms to come in to support these students, to help them on the right trajectory towards post-college or post-secondary education or trade or work? I think we need to define that. Like, are we saying you cannot, that students cannot create their own fraternities, sororities, and secret organizations? Or are we saying that the Shriners can't come and help them tutor? Like, what are we saying here? Because I think that's where it gets leery I do feel like that's where it gets leery for administrations. I don't think this other stuff get leery for them, because this first policy is pretty clear. And to me, a lot of this is process, not a policy. A lot of this is process and procedure. So I guess my question would be, I think if you're going to open it up and we're going to look at non-curricular clubs and organizations that have constitution and bylaws and all these things, then we should look at letting Greek letter organizations and community organizations that support these people that we just X'd out be a part.
This has nothing to do with volunteering. It is about having an official
But it
club.
could become that if, yeah, you know, I'm at the level of just saying what I need to say these days. It can become that if you allow other things to become here.
Yeah, the sororities and the fraternities has always been part of the policy.
Okay, but you'll have some administrator that says no sororities and fraternities.
As a club, not as someone that's coming in to do a
Okay.
volunteer experience.
All right.
Okay.
And the emphasis there, again, that's been the language of Hamilton County policy forever.
Right, but it's also not been the language for us to say that you can do these other things that could, I mean, if to be perfectly honest, secret organizations could be organizations. Like, if I'm a mother of a child in Hamilton County schools, and I could feel like certain organizations coming in are secret organizations that could persuade my child. The same way other people feel like organizations that are not secret but public persuade their children. So when you open it up, you're allowing that exposure to my child, and you want me to opt out, not opt in. But in other stages that are curricular, you want me to opt in. And I'm taking this a little personal now because, you know, I'm going to leave my baby with child after August.
Okay.
So the purpose of this language, I think, aligns with what your concern is. I think it does. The policy prohibits secret organizations where the administration doesn't know what's going on in that meeting. And therefore the parents wouldn't know what's going on in that meeting. The purpose of this language is, if they're going to meet on campus, there are no secrets going on in there.
And there's
The administration needs to know, and the parent, more importantly, the parents need to know.
So then,
So I'm agreeing with you. We're not going to let
so
anyone-
what happens when that's the case and it's allowed and it's a right for Jackie's daughter, but then it's a offense to my child?
I'm not sure I'm following your question.
The policy right now says you have to opt in. It's not opt out.
No, I'm
It's
just
opt
saying
in.
so, but in my baby's classroom, if I'm not gonna go that deep. Y'all know, I feel like y'all know what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying not to say it in offense of somebody else who believes in this. But what I'm saying to you is there could be organizations that come on board that could then become offensive to other people. I'm saying that if we're going to do this, that we need to look at how are we going to address those organizations that could possibly become offensive to another student and another student body or group of students.
It's going to go both ways, and this has always been a part of it. We have a limited open forum, which I would allow him to better describe. But this is going to go both ways.
Okay.
So some of you are going to get mad when we allow a GSA club.
A what?
GSA, Gay Straight Alliance Club. And then some of you are going to get mad when Turning Point comes and wants to start a club.
I mean, I'm okay with that, long as you let Operation Push or the Pan-African Alliance
I
come too.
understand when you have a limited open forum, what you're doing is you're opening up access to any club as
Okay.
long as it does not create a disturbance.
So and the
Right.
accountability holds at the administration to allow that, correct?
With the policy, it says that. I mean, you can give a better lawyer definition of a limited open forum, but we've always had this.
I think Dr. Robertson actually just nailed it.
Okay.
If you open the door for one group, you open the door for every group. We don't discriminate on the basis of viewpoint. And this gets back to
No, we don't.
this gets back to what I said a minute ago. I think the administration has an excellent practical understanding of this, and if there's something that crops up, we talk about it.
Okay.
But this isn't new law. Really, the last half of the, well, I guess the middle third of this policy, it was what I wanted to add, because there were lots of questions in the fall about why we were or were not allowing certain extracurricular clubs. And we had good reasons for allowing and not allowing that were based upon things other than viewpoints. This policy basically makes it clear on what we're doing and why we're doing it. Now, if you want to get into the weeds about this club versus that club, this group versus that group,
No, I don't. I just want to go on record for hearing y'all say that, so that when the administrators get into the weeds, then there's something to support it.
Where the issues come up, and I don't know if any of you have actually, I've not heard a complaint about this
No, I
in
have
3 years.
I'm not
So-
saying I heard a complaint, Dr. Robertson. I'm just saying that given the current social climate,
I'm trying to give
people
you-
make complaints where they want to make complaints.
I'm trying to give you like the example of what he's trying to be. From a practical standpoint, we do have some schools that say, by this date, you have to submit an application to be a club by September 1st. Well, if you come in October and submit it and they say no, that is allowable because that's the
Exactly.
standard that we've set, right? But by September 1st, as long as it's a club that's not causing chaos on campus and they're following all other rules, that's why we have a Pokemon club. That's why we have a chess club. That's why we have Fellowship of Christian Athletes. That's why we have Young Life that can come on and do a gather at the pole and say a prayer, right? And it's trying to protect that free speech of all of our students and do it in a way that doesn't disrupt the daily operation of the school.
And again, I want to reiterate, I think the administration has done it right. We've had some questions in the fall, and because of those questions, and I think we even had a gentleman address the board at the last meeting raising questions about why a particular club was denied. It was denied on the basis of content neutral regulation. You got to have a deadline. So frankly, I think this policy clarifies what the rules of the road are. It clarifies what the rules that we're already following are. I hear Ms. Thomas's concern about whether we're getting too granular, and I think those are fair points, and I'll discuss them with all of y'all offline, and I'll talk about them with the administration. They may think they're too granular. They may think we need some additional guardrails. I don't know. But Ms. Jones, I'm not entirely sure I'm following your concern.
I'll call
but
you.
I will
We'll
be,
follow client to attorney.
I will be happy to talk with you about a conceptual problem, or if there's a real problem, let me know and I'll address it.
Okay, Mr. King.
Well, and one thing I do think we need to be adding to it, clubs have never been as predominant as they are now and over the last few years with regards to building relationships with students. Where administrators used to determine clubs, now they leave that up to a lot of times faculty or faculty and students, and now we're getting so many more clubs, and even to the point where we're setting aside days that are club days. So the more guidelines in that we can set to make it easier on administrators in accepting clubs and understanding, and having those guidelines, it's worth the time. So, yeah, I think we need specifics.
Okay, any other comments? You can turn off your lights if you've already commented. Thank you. Okay, so the next one, appearances before the board, 1.401. I think this doesn't really impact the policy, except
Change
It
the
says,
address.
each person speaking shall state their name, the Hamilton County District or School Zone, we changed that, they reside in, instead of their address, so that's a good change. In the subject, just my opinion, sorry, in the subject of their presentation, you know, grammatically, I want it to say, each person, and y'all can tell me if you think this sounds grammatically correct. Each person speaking shall state his or her name, the Hamilton County District or School Zone in which they reside, and the subject of his or her presentation. Okay, any other comment? Okay. Mr. Connor?
Yes, sorry. I just want to say that, sorry, I'm reading it to make sure. I agree. Let's get it grammatically correct. Is a big sticking point. But I'm all for this. I think that we have a lot of people who are already nervous to speak to the board. I wish they weren't, but this removes one of those hurdles of getting their physical address and just their school zone. I think that's a great thing. I don't know that it needs to be in the policy, but I would just say that they say that and then their time starts. But I mean, I don't know if that even needs to be in there, but thank you for this change. It has definitely been something that's been talked about a lot in the community.
Yes, I think it's a very good change. Any other comment on appearances before the board? Okay, federal programs. Let's try to do
I hate questions on it. It looks like this is a whole new policy, right?
that. I'm trying to think of what, no, not really. Okay, federal.
You got lines 1 and 2.
In the previous policy, just for clarification here, in the previous policy, it was just a very, very short description of purpose. And so what they're doing is giving a broader description of what the federal programs are. That's the change to this policy.
We're receiving more federal programs, so.
Yeah.
I appreciate the descriptions. I like that a lot. These are specific to the Every Student Succeeds Act. That's all of these titles. Okay. Are there any other federal programs besides these, as far as titles? And, no. That's a loaded question. We can scratch that.
Oh, they're just explaining it.
Well,
Okay.
it's just explaining it better so that
Clear.
our taxpayers can look at this and see without having to go onto a government website and look this all up.
Okay.
So I think it's making it much more transparent for the taxpayers of Hamilton County.
Okay. Are we good with this one then? Submitting it? Okay. All right, the next one, early post-secondary opportunities. And that's 4.206.
I have a question.
Ms. Thomas?
Yeah, okay, on number 11 through 12, I guess. It has grades earned in approved college level courses shall be used to. This is the one I got. I don't know if y'all.
Second page.
Second.
No, she on the third.
I'm on the third page. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Third page. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
It says that grades earned in approved college level courses shall be used to determine class rank, grade point average, and eligibility for valedictorian or salutatorian, except in cases where the 5-course limit applies. I guess I just have a question, and I'm not an educator, so I don't know. But for me, if I'm in high school and I go to college, and I'm taking dual enrollment, then I'm earning college credit. So for me, the reward is earning college credit. Why do we add that into a high school's GPA when they're getting the credit for college? And maybe this is me and I don't understand it. So could you tell me that?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. Some of our dual enrollment classes fulfill a high school requirement.
Okay. Okay.
For example, you could be a senior and instead of taking your English 4 class, which is a Tennessee K through 12 course, you might take Composition 1 from Chattanooga State. That allows us to count it as both the child's high school diploma requirement, and they get credit for a college credit.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why that says that. This one also points specifically to the state of Tennessee provides 5 free dual enrollment classes. What this is saying is it's allowing the student, the calculation of salutatorian and valedictorian to be limited to those 5 free courses. And that's what that's pointing to as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
Has it ever happened where maybe a student did not become the valedictorian? I wasn't the valedictorian, but I was taking all dual enrollment honors classes, and he wasn't, but he had a better GPA than I did, and he got to be the valedictorian, and I was taking a more rigorous track. Has that ever happened?
Our
The
policy.
answer is yes. That's
The
happened.
answer previously has been yes. I too was not the valedictorian,
Yeah.
so we share that.
Well, I wasn't.
But we have policy and administrative procedure that requires to be the valedictorian or salutatorian, you must be taking the highest level of course offered at the school.
So that's something
To
new.
avoid that. That's been in place the past few years. But yeah, but it is to avoid that and to address that you can't be if you're going to be the valedictorian and salutatorian, you have to be taking the most rigorous courses that are offered at the campus. So we have a plan to address that already.
But don't those extra half a points averaged
Yes.
in take care
Yeah, you
of
do.
that?
Yes, when you're in an advanced course as well as a college level course, there are extra points that are added on to your end of term
Yeah.
grade.
So that helps with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. King?
So Susie takes the dual enrollment and knows ahead of time, and Bonnie, is she ever told when she signs up for English 4 instead of dual enrollment, is she told by her counselor or her graduation coach or whoever, is she told that by taking this, you won't be eligible for salutatorian or valedictorian?
Schools have a very good track record of knowing what students are on track to be salutatorian and valedictorian. So that would have happened in the spring whenever a
Before they
student and
signed up.
counselor conferred about their next year's course.
Okay. And what about credits before the senior year? Because you can get dual enrollment credits previously. Is it only the ones is it only the credits that are in their senior year? I
No.
mean, I know they're getting credits before that, but as far as, so chemistry, in their junior year, this one person takes AP chemistry and another person takes dual enrollment chemistry.
Those would be
So,
seen as
okay,
the same level
that's
because they're yeah.
also what I wanted to know.
Yes.
So, all right.
Okay, any other questions?
Let me just say, I wish I'd have said this earlier. We got a lot of our community leaders here today and principals, and rarely do we see this many together at one meeting. So thank y'all for the work that you do every day. And then Blake, the dual enrollment thing and our honors track, my granddaughters, who are good looking like Pops but smart like Mimi, I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. They're at UT in Knoxville now, and they did all that stuff. And I mean, they're going to be finished with this year and be a junior. I mean, it's just unbelievable how we're preparing our students that want to go that route. So that's a kudos to you and your team that works on all that.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Slater?
Yeah, just for history's sake, my daughter was valedictorian. But when you look into the newspaper and you see some of these other schools, she was a 4.0 student. You look in the newspaper and there's some of these schools got 4.12, 4.26. If an A is a 4, how do they come up with that?
Yeah, the process has changed since your daughter was valedictorian, and so.
She got her sprains from her mom. So.
Sure, yeah. Well, you said that, not me, but no, I mean, like, what that is, that's a weighted GPA, and I think it was like last year we actually moved to making sure that all public high schools in Hamilton County use the weighted GPA. So what that does is a weighted GPA reflects, it adds half points or full points to a GPA if you're in an honors class or an advanced class. Yeah.
Okay.
And really, we did that because that was a practice in private schools. And so to keep our public school students competitive with the same, so that their transcripts are being evaluated the same way in post-secondary. So that change was made last year.
Ryan, are you 4.0?
And his sister is valedictorian, his twin, just named. So congratulations to them. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I was going to stay right here.
Yes, okay. Yes. Mr.
Yeah, I
Jenkins.
just want to speak to some of the potential confusion you guys expressed in this discussion. What I will say and what I've seen is students know a lot of this themselves, even just going into high school, because to be top of the class, like, that's something you've got to invest a lot of time in. And not only is it students who do take the initiative already, but also the staff as well. So so I don't really see it being a problem, a student ending up in a class that actually would then take them out of the running, because so much is done proactively by the student to see that that's going to happen, and that they'll be eligible if that's what they desire to do.
Thank you. Any other comment on this policy? Okay, because the next policy is enrollment in advanced courses. And the only main question I had was that there's duplication in some of the language between those two policies, 4.206 and 4.2061, and I just didn't know if it needed to be in both policies. Like, students may earn high school credit by enrolling, et cetera, and there's like quite a few paragraphs that are, have you seen both of the?
Yes, yeah, I'm looking at it right here. I think that.
Do we need all that in both of those?
I think the differences are, this is specific to early post-secondary opportunities. This is also addressing honors courses, which an honors course may not, it's not necessarily an early post-secondary that you're getting a college credit for. And then it's adding the language that you're approving in the previous policy around college level courses. That's the duplication.
Okay. I'm wondering, because that was my confusion when I first looked over it, is that when it says advanced courses, I wasn't thinking honors courses, because I'm used to what honors courses are. In advanced, I'm thinking advanced placement, like college credit, and that's not what the second one is referring to. Not advanced placement, but it says advanced courses.
Yeah,
so I wonder if we can even put, I mean, this might not be logistically right, but even put honors in parentheses or something so we know it's not the same as this 4.206. I'm just curious. What do you think? Do you have an opinion?
I'm just not sure I follow what you're asking. I mean, if you want my opinion, it's probably fine as it is, but if you need to clarify so I understand.
Yeah, well, these are college credits, right? The first one. And the,
Yes.
And the second one is not college credits.
Not all of them.
Okay.
You'll see when it's listed out,
Well,
like, some of them are.
When you said dual enrollment, yes, they are. So some are honor, some
So let's look at
I'm
that
sorry,
first
I
page.
guess
We'll break
the
that. No, you're fine.
session
We'll look on that
seems
first
just
page.
what
So
the difference
honors
is,
courses
yeah.
would be a class that a student could take that's been designated honors. That's not necessarily a dual, it is not a dual enrollment class,
Right.
but it's an honors course. Dual credit classes, that's dual enrollment. Industry certification, we also recognize our industry certifications. A student gets OSHA 10, OSHA 30, welding 1. That's recognizing that that is an advanced course too. You have dual enrollment, AP, college level placement exam, which is an assessment that a student would take that gives them college credit if they pass, and then it also gives a nod to IB courses as well. So it's just delineating what those advanced courses are. And then the additions are adding some of the language changes for dual enrollment in the previous policy.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments about these? Any other? Yes, Ryan.
I just want to say, and this isn't even completely related to the policy itself, but I just want to speak to the value of having such a variety of class options in Hamilton County schools because, I think as we all know, no one student is the same. So, even still being in high school myself, it's been so impactful to have a variety of classes and classes that fit my needs as a student, and as well being able to see students across the county do that as well. So I appreciate everyone's investment in these opportunities.
Well, I guess we're fine with these policies. Oh, Mr. Connor was first. They just popped up.
So actually, that was a great segue. Thank you. I wanted to actually ask one question back just a little bit. I'm sorry. The code 4.204, career and technical education, kind of falls in line with this, but all the things we're marking off here, we're not losing anything. We're just changing the names to better serve. There's nothing at all that's gone. Okay. Now it's on the record. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Grown.
Just a clarification for me on advanced placement. I used to teach several advanced placement classes, and they have different scoring. So U.S. history is scored different than world history, for example. If you score 5, used to score 5 in world history, then you could be rated by the readers to get a 6, 7, or 8. How does that fit in with this? So if we've got an advanced placement class and we have a student that scores a 5, what happens?
The scoring of an advanced placement assessment only applies to how the receiving university or college is going to, what credit they're going to give them. For the purposes of transcripts and grading, that would not play into a child's grade either. That grade would be determined upon the coursework that they do in the class by the teacher.
Only the 4 or the 5.
Yeah,
right?
The assessment, that's usually in coordination with the college or university that they're going to attend and what they're going to give credit for.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's probably they're just going to look at the 4 or 5s. They don't care about the extra. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I guess we're good with those being submitted for the second read then in March, next week. Okay. All right, the next policies or group of policies, we'll start with charter school application process. And the first one, 4.212. And this one, these policies are in response to state monitoring.
Yeah, do you mind if I give a little context here? We do have our charter office here to answer any questions. But in review with the state, and Finney will say this much better than I have, they asked us to split it into 5 required policies. And so what we're doing is taking our current policies and split it into 5, and those are the 5 that you have in front of you. Can I ask Finney to give you a better description than what I just did, because I know about this much?
Shannon did great. She's not giving herself enough credit. So you were actually, all of you were copied in on a email from the state this week with the results of our authorizer evaluation and part of the feedback that we have been given from the state so that we are fully meeting our high quality authorizing standards is to have 5 distinct policies. And so as Shannon said, in Mr. Bennett can speak to this as well, but we've gone back and forth, but that's what the state is asking for, so we're going to do it because we do get dinged on it if we don't do it. So that's why we have divided it up into the 5 policies.
What will you tell them what we were rated before you started, what we are now?
We're actually in the same. We are at the satisfactory level. I will say we did go up. We're still at the satisfactory level, though. So so there's room for improvement, and I know this, and I'm determined to get there.
I'm trying to make the point that we're in a way better place.
We are in a way better place. Prior, two cycles ago, we were on an improvement plan by the state. So we have made great improvements, and I am going to pat myself and Jim on the shoulder here and the team as well.
Okay,
that
thank
it's
you.
been in pretty good time, you know. We've made a lot of progress within the last 4 years. So, but again, there's room for improvement. We're constantly growing. So, questions about the specific policies? Many of them are not too drastically different from what we had before. The things that have been changed, honestly, are because at the state level, the Tennessee code laws have changed, and we had to update, time period allotments, who we report things to, things of that nature that were in direct result of their changes.
Okay, Mr. Connor.
So you started into exactly what my question was going to be. Other than, the menial, now I report to this office, now it's this date, that kind of things, and the fact that there's 6 of them because we weren't busy or anything. What are other major changes that we should know about? Of note, is there anything that really changes from what we had, other than there being a bunch of them?
There's really not.
Okay.
There's really not.
They just thought she needed another job.
Okay. All right, Mr. Groan. Mr. Smith.
Where does the fee go to? I mean, if I'm a new
Great.
applicant, I have to pay that. What is it?
Great question. So the fee is $2,500 for a new applicant.
Yeah.
There is so the application fee. We bring in an outside consultant. That's a best practice to have somebody outside of your staff to serve on the review committee. That is where we work with Michelle Doan to do a thorough review of the policy. So outside consulting, and that's just something that the state allows us to do. With anything in education, there's just not enough funding for the charter world, and so that is a way that the state does allow us to have a little extra funding.
That fee pays for the consultant.
Correct.
What if that applicant is turned down? Do they get their fee back?
No, because we spend hours upon hours upon hours on the thorough review. I cannot tell you how many hours multiple members of our team work on any and every review. Kudos to the review team for the amount of work and effort they put into it.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So those will be submitted second read. So let's move on to high school athletics 4.304. The main change was homeschool students are allowed to participate in varsity and sub-varsity sports at their home zone school. And it says homeschool students are not allowed to participate in varsity, sub-varsity sports at any magnet school. One thing or I'll let you go, Mr. King.
So my question is, again, going back to a situation that we had in District 9, District 10. So a homeschool, actually 2 sisters that were lacrosse players were zoned for Central High School, but Central High School do not offer a lacrosse team. Is there a way to write into policy that they could play at the nearest zoned school if their zoned school does not offer that sport?
I think we need to get with Tim James, because I think what'll happen is it'll go to TOSAA bylaws about cooperative agreements.
Okay.
So, for example, off the top of my head, I know like CSAS, we don't have a football team. They co-op with Tyner.
Right.
And Tyner can only
CSLA with
co-op
Central.
with one school in that sport. So we would have to look at the bylaws and see, like, if Ottawa doesn't have a co-op, then they could co-op with Central. But if another student went to Tyner, then Tyner.
But
would
now
have to
we're
co-op
not
with
talking about the school with another school. We're talking about homeschool students that are being
would-
offered the opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
But they would be.
Okay, I see. So it's just a trickle effect. All right.
Okay, so for homeschoolers, are they only allowed to play in their zone at this time?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Because, there was an issue
Right.
that I brought up last time that I've been hearing from the community in lacrosse. Because there's 5 spring sports for girls, they're kind of
Right.
competing for players. And yet, some of the neighboring schools, Central, Eastham, do not have, girls lacrosse, and they're wanting to be able to play
They
with
can
Ottawa.
co-op with one of those schools.
So-
right? But they can only do it with one in each sport. So Ottawa could co-op with East Hamilton in girls lacrosse, which means only the girls from East Hamilton. You couldn't do East Hamilton, Tyner, and Central. You can only co-op with one.
So you
school.
can do it, different co-ops for different sports
Yes, ma'am.
then, like with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
different schools? Okay.
And then where would the homeschool student fall? So,
The
same
policy-
as what the zone
Yes,
school would be?
yes, sir.
Thank you.
So would they, okay, so if lacrosse, they co-op to a Central, then that homeschool student zone for Central could play? Okay. Here's what I recommend. I recommend we all go ahead and do a second and final read with the way it's written right now with the homeschool students. But I feel like we need to tweak it a little bit as far as the co-op. I mean, I'm just not ready
The
to put
co-op
that
is-
in there.
Yeah, the co-op is TWSA bylaws.
So do we not even have
We
to
don't
put
even-
that in a policy?
I would recommend no.
Yeah.
If you look at
So-
the language of the policy, line 7, bylaws of the TSSAA shall regulate interscholastic athletics.
Okay.
So by policy, we don't have a choice, but
Okay.
but we recognize we're bound by TSSAA.
Okay.
We don't want to get too granular in our policy, because if TSSAA changes its bylaws, our schools are going to have to follow it.
Okay, I think I personally, and maybe others, need to just become more familiar with the TSSAA rules.
I think if you are an athletic director and you're worried about staffing a particular program, and you're worried about Title IX, you want to provide equality of opportunity, I think your directors know to reach out to Tim James and ask, what are our options? And Tim knows these regulations better than I ever will.
Okay, that sounds like the best plan. Just go through the athletic director and those rules. But it's great to hear, though, that there is a co-op option. So that's great. So we'll submit it just as it is for second read for next week's board meeting. Any other questions about that one? Okay, the last one on our list is 4.501 school volunteers. Let's see.
Did we do visitors in school?
Okay.
This, if you need any context as we get started, this policy was in response to a few months ago. I think we asked for us to look at the school volunteer policy. Dr. Brown and his team took a look at that policy and proposed this within a first read to address the needs that the board expressed at that time.
Mr. Daughtery?
Just so I'm on the same page, this policy applies to any visitors into the school. So for example, we did a party at my kids' third grade class. This policy would apply for me coming in, my wife coming in, grandma. Does this policy outline the background check?
Yes, sir. And you're right when it says it applies to all the visitors, but within that policy, you'll see that there's two distinctions. One with unmonitored access to our kids, and another is if they're with another teacher, right? And so it's very clear. We try to define what we mean by a visitor, but also background checks. I think that's what you're asking. Definitely applies to any visitor that's going to be have access to our kids unmonitored.
Say the last part again, Dr. Brown. What'd you say at the end there?
Like they're going to be supervising our kids unmonitored, like access to a student. They're a visitor and they're not around a teacher. So for example, let's say Ben Daugherty is going to come into the school and he's going to be volunteering for the school. He's going to be working, let's say he's going to be reading to kids on a regular basis, right? At that, the student might be pulled out to a library. He might be left alone. And so in order for that to occur, the principal will need to, one, approve, but that individual will need to go through a background check through our process, through HR, and that goes the full scale, the TBI, FBI, sex offender, et cetera, in order to be eligible to volunteer in that school. The difference would be if I'm a parent that's coming in one time a year. We just did the elementary reading to our elementary kids. I'm going in for 15 minutes to a classroom. I want to be with the classroom teacher. I want to read to the students. That is a volunteer that's been approved by the principal. But again, that individual will not be left alone with our kids, and that's not a pattern. And so we would not require that individual to go through a background check.
And to be clear, the background check has always been in place, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up, and I know we talked about it briefly, in my own district, my own kids' elementary school, I got some complaints from parents around like uniformity of how we're applying it. So like we had, I forget what it was, but they had an event, grandparents came in, and some grandparents were refused admittance into the school because they hadn't performed that background check. So that's just kind of where my thought process is like, are we ensuring that we're monitoring this clearly to all principals across? I think about my mom who's, in her mid-70s, and I'm like, would she know how to do all this process? Like, what I'm saying? Like that can complicate things.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if Dr. Roberts wanted to speak on this, but I will say that there is confusion when we think about school volunteers and visitors, right? And so there's two different policies. If you're visiting a school, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you're volunteering, that's another. And those are just two distinct policies. So if you're visiting a school because you need to meet with the librarian or meet with a principal, then there's a process for that where you sign in, et cetera, et cetera. But volunteering is you're given a free service without compensation to the school, and that requires additional protocols. So.
And we feel this policy clearly defines those differences?
Yeah, again, it's two different policies, right? We have a visitor policy, I believe it's in
We have a copy of it.
1.501. And that's just, but this policy here, we're specifically focusing on volunteering because Ms. Schaefer brought to our attention that she was concerned that there might be some variability from school to school, and we wanted to make sure principals understood exactly from that first and foremost, we want to make sure that our kids are always safe.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to make sure it was very clear when an individual needs to go through a background check and not, right? And so that's what this focus is all about, is when they're actually volunteering service. Maybe offline I can speak to you about the situation that you were describing. I'm not sure, again, it comes down to the administration, why someone is denied. Without fully understanding what's going on there, it's hard for me to speak on that. So.
Yeah, it's a good explanation. Thanks, Dr. Brown.
Yep.
Mr. Connor?
I do have something to say, but I was going to let Ryan go.
I'm sorry, I don't pay attention to that.
I've just got a clarifying question. Would this affect, like, let's say, high school students volunteering at like a local elementary school? Like, how would this affect students, and would it affect students?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, one, if a student's volunteering at a school during the school day, that's under your number one, your student at Hamilton County Schools. It's probably under a field trip. There's supervision. So that's a different process.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great question to make sure. I noticed that we also do have that visitor policy in front of us, 1.501, just to read it into reference. That's not part of our agenda. Are we, and there is a change to it?
Right. We considered adding that to the agenda, and there is some red line that's being considered, but we're just, it's been suggested that we not go there this time.
Okay. So
I'm going to get with Tim James.
Oh, where you at?
It's something that just needs
And
more
kind of-
discussion before we bring it
Okay.
before the
Excellent.
board, I think.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't something we should be talking about, brought up. Okay.
Right.
Consideration next
So
time.
you
Thank
all can look over that and just see what might be coming if you're interested, to the rest of the board members.
Thank you for the clarity.
Mr. Slater, do you have anything else? I see your light.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, so Ms. Moody, if you want to move forward with submitting those policies for the second read.
And just for clarification, we're going to remove the magnet programs, the educator diversity, and the student clubs and organizations. You will not see that submitted as second read. We're going to make minor grammar changes to appearances before the board. Otherwise, it seemed like everything is moving forward.
Okay, and magnet and diversity, and I should have been marking them off. What's the third one you mentioned?
Magnet diversity and student clubs and organizations.
Okay, student clubs, that's right. So we're not moving forward with those, but we are moving forward for second reads for the rest of the ones that were on the agenda. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you all for coming. We are adjourned.